Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Emotional Combat with Jim Kleiber episode. Today is a group training exercise. Right now, I'm the only one on the call, but still, it doesn't matter. I'm still going to be training. What we're going to train in are these two different sets of drills that I created. Um, One is a feel win set of drills, and the other one is a one thing set of drills. And so we'll go through the three steps. And when I talk about the three steps, I'm talking about one, truth, two, fair play, three, love. Step one, tell the truth about how you're actually feeling. Step two, tell the other person how you imagine they might be feeling. Step three, say one thing to connect with love. And so we will do two sets of drills, and then after each drill, we will do reflection. And so, considering I'm the only one on the call, the reflection will just be just me today. But you can do these drills by yourself at home and then have a reflection afterwards, or you can do them with somebody else and have a reflection. And if you feel inspired, you can record the reflection and put them up on the internet if you'd like as well. The idea is to get better at reflecting and connecting to the emotions across all these different conflicts. And so today we're talking about what's happening in Gaza. Okay. And so, like I said, we are going to start with a simple drill. It'll be about maybe 5 minutes in total, and we'll jump right into it. It's a reflection drill. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to play it on the screen share, and then you should be able to follow along. And just answer the questions in your own head. You can say them out loud if you'd like. You can write them down, but we'll not be sharing them publicly. The idea with these calls is that we do the drills privately, together, as other people are doing them as well. And then we come together into a group reflection and share on audio and video what we learned, what we noticed, what surprised us, the impact that the drill had on us related to the particular topic, but also just in general. So get started in a second here. Let me share the screen. And I hope you all can see and can hear. So if you go to the jimkleiber.com/emoko/drills, you can see all these different drills. Right now, it's filtered by this particular playlist for what's happening in Gaza. So this is a feel win drill, and you will hear the instructions in the audio. So here we go. Let's see if this works. And I will participate as well. The question format is, how do you feel when you think about blank? And the blanks are going to relate to what's happening in Gaza. Get started in a second. How do you feel when you think about what's happening in Gaza? How do you feel when you think about watching videos from Gaza? How do you feel when you think about not paying attention to what's happening in Gaza? How do you feel when you think about children dying in Gaza? How do you feel when you think about children dying in Israel? How do you feel when you think about the people leading the government of the people of Gaza? How do you feel when you think about the people leading the government or people of Israel? How do you feel when you think about the aid not being allowed in, the food aid? How do you feel when you think about people not having enough access to food? How do you feel when you think about peace between the Palestinians and the Israeli Jews? How do you feel when you think about love between the Palestinians and the Israeli Jews? Okay, that's it for now. All right, we're going to go into step 2, and step 2 is having you think about somebody else in your life. So I want you to take a moment here and just think about somebody in your life that you want to do this reflection for. It could be somebody who's very close to you. It could be somebody who's far away from you emotionally, or it could be a friend. It could be a stranger. It could be an enemy. It's up to you. Um, who you choose might make it more or less vulnerable. So give you a second to think about that, and then we'll get started with the step 2. All right. Hopefully everybody's got somebody in mind. Okay, let's go into step 2 now. The question format is, how do you imagine this person might feel when they think about blank? And the blanks are going to relate to what's happening in Gaza. Get started in a second. How do you imagine this person might feel when they think about what's happening in Gaza? How do you imagine this person might feel when they think about reading or watching about what's happening in Gaza? How do you imagine this person might feel when they think about avoiding what's happening in Gaza? How do you imagine this person might feel when they think about you calling it a genocide in Gaza? How do you imagine this person might feel when they think about the attacks that happened in October against Israeli Jews? How do you imagine this person might feel when they think about donating money to Gaza? How do you imagine this person might feel when they think about children dying in Gaza? How do you imagine this person might feel when they think about children dying in Israel? How do you imagine this person might feel when they think about people being well fed in Gaza? How do you imagine this person might feel when they think about peace between the people in Gaza and the people in Israel? And how do you imagine this person might feel when they think about love between the people in Gaza and the people in Israel? Okay, that's it. If you could say one thing to connect to this person with love, what would you say? The question. All right, that's the end of that. I'm going to go into a quick reflection here. So let me stop sharing the screen for a second. Quick reflection from me. When I did the first step drill, I got asked a question about how do I feel about children dying in Gaza and children dying in Israel. I felt numb. I felt not even numb, but distant. Like I wanted to feel the pain. I wanted to, but I just feel so distant from it. It's probably because I haven't been watching the videos. I haven't been reading the stories. I think I've been so overwhelmed by it in a way that I just felt distant, and feeling distant, I almost felt guilty or embarrassed or ashamed that I didn't have a strong reaction to, oh my God, the kids are dying, because it just, maybe it doesn't seem real to me. I saw a stat that said 400,000 people have died in Gaza. 400,000 people. How many of those are kids? I haven't maybe had the stomach or the courage to watch some of the videos. And so, yeah, I feel guilty kind of for avoiding it, but at the same time, yeah, I don't know, I just feel distant. And so that's really what jumped out at me. Um, and then when I did the second part, I actually imagined Donald Trump and how he might be feeling about the whole situation. There was one question, it was about uh like what's just, I don't know if it was about the situation in Gaza just in general, and I imagine he probably just felt overwhelmed, like totally overwhelmed and helpless. And then in a weird way, I started to think about how absolutely difficult it must be to be the president of the United States. And just not maybe think that you have control over a situation like that. And again, I don't know how he's feeling. But my overall conclusion was, wow, you must have a lot on your plate. If I'm feeling overwhelmed, then I want to avoid looking at these videos and I feel distant from maybe the idea of even children dying. How about someone who is, fed a lot of this info, who really has access to some of the deepest intelligence and info that's happening over there? How does he not feel overwhelmed by it all and want to avoid it or run away from it? And so I don't think this drill solves the problem necessarily, but at least gets me to start thinking about it a little more, reflecting a little more on how I'm feeling and why I'm feeling that way. And I hope that helps you as well. So we're going to go into the second drill. The second drill is a one thing drill. Uh, the format is basically what's one thing that currently makes you feel blank. But in this particular case, when you think about what's happening in Gaza, what's one thing that currently makes you feel blank? Anyways, we'll get started with the drill in just a few seconds here. Again, it's about 5 minutes long. And I would love to hear what your reflections are afterwards. Again, you don't have to reflect on the video. I'd love if you join these calls and you could reflect with me. We could have group reflections. And then if not, then I would love to hear your reflections afterwards, see how these drills helped you and see how they help you with a specific topic, but also just in general. So let's jump into this next exercise, next drill. I'm going to screen share again and hope this all works. All right, you see, so I switched right now. There's just a couple workouts here. You can switch between the different workouts. I'll make the user interface look a lot sexier, but this is where you could find all the different drills. And you can create your own workout as well, but that's a whole different topic. Anyways, so let's get started in just a second here. Again, we're going to do steps 1, 2, and 3. So for step 2, I also want you to think of someone. It could be the same person, it could be a different person, but just have somebody in mind that you want to do this for. And I think curious to see what your reactions and how this drill helps you differently. Okay, get started right about now. The question format is, when you think about what's happening in Gaza, what's one thing that currently makes you feel blank? And I'll rotate through different emotions. Get started in a second. When you think about what's happening in Gaza, what's one thing that currently makes you feel sad? When you think about what's happening in Gaza, what's one thing that currently makes you feel scared? When you think about what's happening in Gaza, what's one thing that currently makes you feel annoyed? When you think about what's happening in Gaza, what's one thing that currently makes you feel angry? When you think about what's happening in Gaza, what's one thing that currently makes you feel calm? When you think about what's happening in Gaza, what's one thing that currently makes you feel guilty? When you think about what's happening in Gaza, what's one thing that currently makes you feel helpless? When you think about what's happening in Gaza, what's one thing that currently makes you feel motivated? When you think about what's happening in Gaza, what's one thing that currently makes you feel curious? When you think about what's happening in Gaza, what's one thing that currently makes you feel confused? And when you think about what's happening in Gaza, what's one thing that currently makes you feel hopeful? Okay, that's it. All right, we're going to go into step 2 right now. So get ready for that. Again, have somebody in mind that you want to do this reflection for. Just give you a few seconds to think about that again. Okay. The question format is, when this person thinks about what's happening in Gaza, what's one thing that you imagine might currently make them feel blank? And I'll rotate through different emotions. Get started in a second. When this person thinks about what's happening in Gaza, what's one thing that you imagine might currently make them feel angry? When this person thinks about what's happening in Gaza, what's one thing that you imagine might currently make them feel happy? When this person thinks about what's happening in Gaza, what's one thing that you imagine might currently make them feel hopeless? When this person thinks about what's happening in Gaza, what's one thing that you imagine might currently make this person feel guilty? When this person thinks about what's happening in Gaza, what's one thing that you imagine might currently make them feel proud? When this person thinks about what's happening in Gaza, what's one thing that you imagine might currently make them feel strong? When this person thinks about what's happening in Gaza, what's one thing that you imagine might currently make them feel confused? When this person thinks about what's happening in Gaza, what's one thing that you imagine might currently make them feel confident? When this person thinks about what's happening in Gaza, what's one thing that you imagine might currently make them feel curious? And when this person thinks about what's happening in Gaza, what's one thing that you imagine might currently make this person feel loved? Okay, that's it. That's step 3. If you could say one thing to connect to this person with love, what would you say? All right, that's the end of that exercise. So come back, do the reflection. Again, reflect at home if you'd like. Reflect on these calls. Join me if you want. My reflection. I felt this one a lot more. Felt a lot of anger at the governments for not resolving it, but especially at the Israeli government for not resolving it. It's like I tend to get angry at the ones who I think have the more power in the situation, and who I sometimes it's even the people that that feel more like on my side, like my friends. Like sometimes I get really angry when I just want my friends to solve the situation. They're complaining about the other side. I'm like, good, that's the other side. I want you to have agency and do something and fix it. So I think there's that when I did in the first step there. What else? I feel tired right now. It kind of drained me. Um, and the second one, I was still doing Donald Trump, and I answered, what might make him feel happy. And I thought that the attention's not on him. The attention might be on Gaza. And then later, felt, what might make him feel guilty, that he was happy that the attention's not on in him and it's on Gaza. And yeah, I don't know. I just feel kind of overwhelmed thinking about the answers not that I gave for Donald Trump didn't make me think he cared a lot about what was happening to the people in Gaza, that he cared more about what was happening to the people in Israel, that he cared maybe even more about the real estate value of Gaza, maybe was confused that the people just won't leave and why won't they leave? It made me think that he just feels a bit distant from the situation, from the people there. And I guess I feel a little sad thinking about that. And overwhelmed. Like, man, this is a lot. It's a lot to process. It's a conflict that is so far from me in some ways, physically and emotionally, but also not that far because I'm sure I have a lot of friends who are connected to both sides more intimately. And just as a human, really connected to it. I hope I have the courage now to go read a little bit more about it and see the stories. But I think this is just a stepping stone. I think part of it is really to build up the endurance and the capacity to feel some of these heavier things. And sometimes the heaviest thing to feel is an emptiness, is a distance, is a numbness. A lot of people have told me, when they've been at the edge of breaking down, that they just feel empty inside. And I've seen how much that impacts people in my life. Me too. And so I think doing this exercise reminded me that a lot of these emotions aren't super present for me when it comes to Gaza. It doesn't mean that they're not there. It just means that they may be really buried and I may have been pushing them down a lot. And so I wonder how that is for you, and I wonder how that is for a lot of people, not just with regards to Gaza, but just life in general. How many situations in our lives do we feel a lot of things intensely, but we have disconnected so much from them that they are just buried under layers and layers of sediment and sand and whatever it may be. So, yeah, whew, I feel kind of exhausted, but grateful for it. And I hope this does something similar for you. Um, okay, now I'll end that, and we'll go into a final kind of overall reflection on this drill, and then I'll close. I uh, I want to do these drills and go even more intense. I want to do rejection and acceptance, and I think on some of these topics, for me, even a person who's been working on this for over 10 years, this stuff can be really emotionally intense. And so trying to balance how far I can go, how far other people can go with me, uh, so that we feel the things, but we're not like taking a nuclear bomb and being so absolutely destroyed from it because we still have to interact with the rest of our days and our we don't want to be completely drained of energy. It's like a workout in general. If you go to the gym and you work out to the absolute max, and then you still have other things you have to do in your day or even just for your body, it's maybe not that healthy to go so full out. Um, so I hope this exercise or these drills help you stretch out a bit, help you exercise those muscles a bit, the muscles of reflection, of feeling, of communication, of being aware of conflicts, answering hard questions. And I feel confident that this can be something going forward. I feel confident that this can help so many of us fight against the apathy, you know? Is stay empathetic or become even more empathetic, care even more about not only the people in Gaza or the people in Israel, but the people in Ukraine, the people in Russia, the people in Sudan, the people in Ethiopia, the people in so many places that are going through more active wars, but also just humans around the world, but humans in our own lives and our communities, our friends, our family, ourselves. I originally wanted to do these episodes that were more focused on more private topics, romantic situation, financial situation, because I think these conflicts can be really emotionally intense and can be the source of a lot of our um, malcontent in life and distancing and estrangement. At the same time, I think it can go both directions. So I think we can get there from looking at the private ones first and then going to public, or doing the public ones and going to private. So the hope now and the experiment now is to focus on the more public topics, whether that's Gaza or Ukraine, Russia, or whether that's things like cancer, or whether that's things like specific holidays, or whether it's uh, d d political leaders, or I mean, there's so many different topics that we can talk about. It can be sports teams. There's so many different things that can pop up that are in the public attention, extramarital affairs and things like this. So, um, my hope is that these conversations help you not only build the skills, but also have direct connections to specific topics and specific areas. Maybe even resolve specific conflicts in your life. Maybe you don't resolve the conflict with Gaza, but you resolve the conflict with your friend about Gaza, or you feel closer to your family member about Gaza, or you don't hate the people in Israel as much, or you don't hate the people in Gaza as much, that you develop a little more love. Even if that doesn't mean you donate all your money or you get on a ship and go try to deliver aid to Gaza. Maybe if it just helps you feel a little closer to yourself and a little closer to the people in your life and even strangers who aren't directly in your life, if that it just brings you a little closer to life, maybe the short exercise would have helped. So grateful for you joining and look forward to talking with you all soon.